going on to all my Atlanta fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again, breaking down this Season 3, Episode 6, titled White Fashion, an episode in which we see Paperboi reinvesting in his hood. We also see our boy Darius getting some Nigerian food, and Earn finally catches up to Van. We're going to discuss that and so much more in tonight's spoiler review, but before we get into it, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community today by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. As you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed what I had to say about this episode, well, make sure you like this review. Let's try to get this to 500 plus likes, and also share the review, but more importantly, in the comments. I can't thank y'all enough for the support and the engagement, and the comments are always on point, especially last week. Wally was a ghost. It was in Paperboy's subconscious. They're always on point. Let's keep that same energy in the comments tonight, from your pros, cons, favorite moments, funniest moments. What were some moments that didn't work for you all? And amongst the other 5 episodes, where does this episode rank for you? Let's discuss that all in the comment section. For me, I laughed my ass off throughout the duration of this episode. I think this is one of the funniest episodes so far this season. And speaking of our crew, this was my favorite episode with our crew. This was giving me very much episode or season 1 vibes, season 2 vibes, focusing on Paperboi and everything going on there with that diversity group, how that connects to Darius. And then Van, did she take that wig? I don't know. We'll get into my thoughts on that a little bit later, but I love tonight's episode. But let me know what you thought of it in the comments. As we get into tonight's breakdown, full spoilers ahead, we meet the fashion designer by the name of Marcello, and he's talking about his recent collaboration with an artist in Tel Aviv. And I think it's safe to say he's talking about, oh, I was inspired and I'm trying to get you to have, you know, you go into Central Park, very chic. He stole that idea, and that's the big theme of this episode, stealing culture, stealing ideas, and not giving people credit. He stole that idea. And also that cartoon character, I wasn't vibing with the earring. I mean, come on. I was not vibing with that look. But I want to say he was talking to his boss, or at least some type of big investor in the company, as he says, you know, the whole Central Park movement is so hot that I can't even get a shirt. Can you hook my grandson up? And we see the little boy is happier than day, which is very similar to the Make-A-Wish Foundation last week. Again, cultural appropriation, which we'll get into here in a bit. But the way we're going to tackle this review is very similar to what I did in episode 3, focusing on the plot A, which is everything going on with Paperboi, how that connects to Darius, and we're going to be talking about Earn hooking up with Van and the wig and the free hotel room. But let's start off talking about Paperboi. Now, he is at this meeting because they don't, correct me if I'm wrong, they never explicitly say what this whole mix-up was, but I think it's safe to say that it was probably some racism going on, as he says, well, how are we going to handle the situation? They just want Paperboi to attend this press conference. You don't have to say a word. And this was a question that I was thinking to myself, well, are you going to pay him for this mix-up, the F-ups on your part, as Earn asks? And they say, oh, no, it would be disingenuous, which I'm thinking to myself, wait, you effed up, which in return affects his pockets and his brand and his image, and you can't pay him for your mistakes? Neither here nor there. Paperboi doesn't trip. He doesn't say anything. He says, okay, I'll take your little lousy deal, but what I want you to do is give me, 3 custom suits. Go ahead and tailor them bad boys, and I want free gear for not just today and tomorrow or next week, but for the next 3 years. And we see Marcello. He's like, first and foremost, his whole persona, his whole attitude in this meeting is just like, when is this going to be over? You want what food? When can we get this over? He livened up a little bit when he heard free and that he's going to be giving something for free, which is more than enough to ask for. Like I said, you're messing with his brand and you can't even compensate him with money, but neither here nor there. And again, let me know your predictions. It's safe to say that there was some racism going on with the whole mix-up thing, but let me know what you all predict that to be, because we all know when it comes to the history of fashion, there is a lot of controversy in racism. Do I need to remind you all what happened a couple years ago with the H&M monkey sweatshirt, Gucci, even Tommy Hilfiger, which they mentioned Tommy Hilfiger briefly in this episode in regards to, I don't make clothes for black people. Oh yeah, there's a lot of racism and a lot of stealing going on in the fashion industry. But cutting to a very interesting conversation here amongst Al and Earn, which Earn is like immediately saying, man, I'm getting some, Uncle Tom vibes going on here. Do you really want to do this? And we hear Al say to him, listen, man, this is a steal. This is a win-win for me, bruh. I'm going to get new drip. We can get those thoughts, some free, handbags. This is a good situation. And plus, this is my way into the system. Remember what Al told Earn a couple episodes ago. white people be scheming and scamming all the time. You got to find your way in and take advantage of the system, which he gets taken advantage of a little bit later, which we'll discuss. But again, it's that continuation of like, you got to know the game. And my boy Earn is recognizing game. We'll talk about him later. But one thing I want to shout out to Earn, I said this last week, the growth in the character from season 1, season 2 to now, he has learned. He has peep game because he says something very smart in regards to, he asks Earn, what would you do in my situation? You wouldn't take these free clothes? He's like, yeah, man, I would take these free clothes, but you know what I would do a little bit differently? I would ask for a 5-year agreement to be a part of this diversity, whole group of people, this board, and I would learn their infrastructure. I would study them and implement what I learned and make my own business. More importantly, invest in black businesses, reinvested in the hood. I love what Earn had to say there. And immediately we see him say, Al says to him, like he laughs about it at first and he kind of jokes about it, but he takes that in a little bit later. But I don't want to leave out the fact, and I said there were so many funny moments in this episode. This was one of them. When we see him talking to Earn, asks him, man, are you worried about what the streets has to say? And when Al looks at him and say, man, fuck the streets, forget the streets, I shot fools in the streets. Such a funny line. Let me know what you all thought about that conversation. And also, let's just hypothetically, if this campaign, reinvesting in your hood, would have worked out, do you think Earn would have been upset because Paperboi stole his idea? Or he would have been like, you know what? You making money, which in return makes me money, and he would have never tripped about it? Let me know your thoughts on all of that. But getting back into the conversation, time to meet, which I think is one of my favorite characters of this new season, by the name of Khalil. What an intro. I mean, he's an activist, he's a foodie, he's a writer, but he also has a very interesting sense of fashion. Beauty is pain, as he says. And by the way, you peep the introduction to DeMarco and how they feel about each other, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But he introduces himself to Al, and you could tell that Al has heard of this individual, and he peeps game that he's probably one of those black people that just shut up and smile and just keep it moving. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And again, Khalil was so funny in this episode. When he's looking at, that's Rose, she could sing like an angel, and he's just like, is this your first time apologizing for white people? What you mean apologizing? He's like, man, you better take advantage of it. I haven't gotten, he says he's gotten free food for he hasn't got paid for food in the last 3 years since 73 police shootings ago. He's taking advantage of the situation, to say the least. But he hugs DeMarco and he says, or he hugs Marcello and he accepts his apology. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be some BS. As we lead into the actual conversation, Khalil's trying to give Al some game in regards to, listen, man, this is how you handle it. You basically sit here, you smile, and you don't say nothing, and you can go about your business. But we know our boy Al ain't about that life, as the questions start to come in, and the first question is posed to Paperboi. Paperboi, do you think after this mix-up, racism will no longer exist? Oh, wouldn't that be sweet if this whatever happens here is going to fix racism? Okay. And our boy, and I'm not going to repeat what he says due to YouTube guidelines, but let's just say he had the perfect response in regards to, hell no, it ain't going to end. And he starts to give it his 2 cents, but then we see Khalil steps in and says, what my friend was trying to say, the proper voice and how to speak to the people at this moment, he's trying to say is, based on this new initiative, we suspect that racism will be ended by 2024. And we see all the people in the back clapping, applauding. Oh, just tell them what they want to hear is really a theme that Khalil is trying to get into Paperboy's head, which we cut into this actual meeting for change diversity board group. And Al brings up the idea that he got from Earn in regards to reinvesting in black businesses, reinvesting in your hood. And it just goes in one ear and right out the other. And we also hear other people in the groups like DeMarco's like, all I want is some free Nikes. Sam's like, I want to do this. I want to have 1,000 business classes, and they shoot her down really quick. And even Khalil, he knows the game. He knows how to kind of work into the system, which we'll talk about. He's like, look, give me 10 free tickets for my charity. I want to see Julia Roberts. Make sure she's there. And also, I want to see Black Panther 2 premiere, which shout out to E-Man Movie Reviews. # recast T'Challa, which I wonder if T'Challa, if they recasted him in this universe. But again, notice the simple things that they're asking for. They know that they can't ask for the things that they really want. They got to slowly but surely work their way in the system, at the same time taking advantage of the system, which is something Khalil really pitches on with Paperboi in this episode. But getting into more in the conversation, we see the question at hand. Al asks, this whole time, DeMarco sitting there, brother, are you even black? Which we'll get into his comments a little bit later, but I thought that was so funny. Again, this episode was hilarious as Al calls out that the social justice group ain't really getting that much respect in the treats, and just sit here and listen to what I have to say, which they actually take the time to listen to his pitch in regards to reinvest in black businesses, reinvesting in your hood. And the board at first is a little bit on, especially Khalil. He's like, if I heard a black man with an idea, I would be as rich as Jimmy Johns, which is hilarious. But the question at hand is okay, they got new funds, and he's like, man, you should let off that at first. And where's the donation? Whose charity is going to be involved? And this was a funny moment because DeMarco's like, he says the word, and it's like, you don't say that word too often. And he stands up and says, I wish you would, Khalil. I wish you would. Again, this episode had me dying laughing, especially at that point. Because again, let me just know, DeMarco, he was passing as black, right? He wasn't black. I don't think he was black. Let me know what you all thought about that, especially that scene. But this is where we get, again, put this on a t-shirt. Let's get this trending. Reinvesting your hood, as we see that they are going ahead and going to take the idea that Paperboi gave them. He's like, he makes the video. He's like, okay, we're going to make a change here. We cut to the actual commercial and we hear the slogan, we all come from a hood. And it's like this melting pot of diversity and different groups being represented in this commercial. Even TJ, who we haven't seen since episode 3, even makes an appearance in this episode. And we all know Paperboi was not going to be happy with this. And he even says it, y'all didn't turn this into some all lives matter stuff, as they're saying, oh yeah, it makes more sense to be more diverse and having all this different stuff. They completely miss what they were getting at, investing in black businesses instead of for investing in all the different groups out there and all, and we all come from a hood. Again, stealing ideas. They stole my man's idea, tried to take credit for it, didn't even give him what he was due. We see Khalil takes him outside and says, and he puts him on game. Do you really think that these white people were going to invest in black people to learn to have their own business and not buy from those white people? Hell no, they weren't going to do that, which even goes back to the whole conversation about the reparations episode, which was a great episode within itself. But he puts him on game. He tells him, man, this is where you got to be smart. You got to make your own non-for-profit and kind of work within the system. And he asks if he wants to go to the Black Panther premiere because who did he say? Whoopi Goldberg and Lorenz Tate was going to be in this film. But again, putting him on game. But the biggest thing that I took away from this section of this plot A, steal your ideas, they steal the culture, and this is what I think, going back to this whole theme of what's going on with Paperboi this season, he's seeing that ugly side of the business. He is really seeing it the last few episodes, whether it be his phone missing, whether it be him going to jail when we first saw him in episode 2, and all the different things going on and things being messed up. I'm telling y'all, by the end of this season, or maybe by the end of season 4, I don't think Paperboi will not be Paperboi by the end of this show. I'm just thinking that. Let me know what you all thought, your favorite moments within that plot A, and what you think about Khalil, DeMarco, and all the stuff that we got in plot A. Let me know what you thought of it, which ties perfectly into plot B, which is Darius' plot line, my favorite character. Some really interesting moments in this stuff here as he is wearing the scarf with the shoelace. Very interesting piece of swag there as he is having this conversation with, I believe her name was Sharon, and her whole job is, you want food? I can get you the food. Where is this Nigerian place? Show me where it's at. And I don't know if you all noticed, she was very kind. She puts her hand on his knee. She calls him babe. She's very smiley, happy. Again, we talked about socks, which we didn't get socks this episode. I wonder what he was scheming up for his next, bringing down Al. But notice how nice she was, right? It makes me think of the OJ song, Backstabbers. They smile in your face and then they steal your idea, which we'll get into here, which, by the way, Sharon, what was the name of the movie in this film? Sharon Stone, I think was the name of the movie, which is actually a real movie, which I wonder if it ties into, the name of the movie is called Sharon Stone. Her name is Sharon, but I looked up the IMDb. The film has to do with this Nigerian woman who has like 3 men that want to marry her. So I don't know how much it ties into this episode besides the name of the movie being the name of the character that steals the idea. I don't know if there's any correlation. Let me know your thoughts on that. But we see Darius takes her to this Nigerian restaurant. He is talking to one of the cooks by the name of Mimi. She's like, he orders liver and she's like, oh, are you a Nigerian yourself? He's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I couldn't tell by your hair, which, it sounds like he hasn't been to Nigeria in a very long time, or at least, he's a river boy. I wonder, and I would love to get a solo episode by Darius Darius, very similar to what we got Teddy Perkins. I would love an episode just focusing on Darius, his heritage, where he comes from, his family, his mom, dad, brothers, sisters. I would love that episode. I hope we get it, if not this season, in the next season. But, she asks Sharon what she wants, and you all see very early on, she's just like, Shazam, what's this music? Oh, Darius, what does that mean? What does that mean? What is she eating? What is this food? Taking all the ideas and going to take it for herself a little bit later. And then she even says, I'm going to have to get her business card for I can do business with her, taking her out of business. As we fast forward to, it's been a week now, and we see Darius is about to go back to the Nigerian restaurant, but unfortunately, closed, shut down for business, all thanks to Sharon. Karen still in stealth. She takes the business, she makes it into like this bowl company. She even names a dish after Darius. And Darius is like, oh no, this is some BS, and goes ahead and throws away the food. And woman's like, you should go ahead and recycle. But the lesson learned from Darius is, they smile in your face, backstabbers. They steal your idea, which ties, like I said, juxtaposition to what's going on with everything with Al and the ideas and stealing ideas, and seeing Sharon taking the black business, again, investing in black businesses, taking away a black business to have this white truck food company. Big theme in this episode. So those are really kind of the bigger talking points, themes, deeper meanings in this episode, which brings us to the last moment here. I guess we saved the best for last. Let's talk about Earn and Van. After weeks, Earn runs into her at this hotel, and I love his approach because I think I would have had a very similar approach, especially after that emoji thumbs up after not hearing from her for 6 days. He's like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm good. How are you? Goes back into reading her book. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you? She's like, nothing's wrong with me. And listen, I understand both sides of the coin. I understand where Earn's coming from. Like, yeah, you're my baby's mama. We were in a relationship. You're a human being that I care for. I want to know what's going on with you. But I also understand her position. You guys are out here doing business. I wasn't even supposed to be here. I don't want to just be hanging around with y'all. I want to live life. I want to enjoy my time on this vacation. So I understand both sides of the coin. But hey, if you guys want to have the conversation, whose side were you on in that conversation? I'm split in the middle between them. But put all that aside, we got a Karen approach. Karen 911 coming on the loose here. She runs up to Van saying, I saw what you did. You didn't pay for that stuff. I followed you here. I'm going to make a citizen's arrest. And we see Van's like, what are you just suspecting me that I stole this because I'm black? I can't afford it. Am I being earned? Like I said, he's peeping game. He's learning from his mistakes or learning how to work the system. Thank goodness that was a black manager, because I think if it wasn't a black manager, it would have been a different story. He comes up to Karen, ma'am, I'm going to need you to get the hell out of here. You don't even belong at this hotel, which we see the biggest swerve of this show so far. Earn says, you know what, man, listen, y'all done messed up my bags. My wife, my fiance, is thinking about moving to here, but this racism, what's going on, man? It's like, listen, sir, we apologize for the mishap. We're going to give you a free room. It's not about, and notice the words, I can afford the room. It's about the situation, man. And he says, you know what, sir, first night's on us. And Van looks at him and say, oh, you stayed at this hotel? I am now. I wish that was like classic, like just a meme of just like, oh, that was a great line, great move. Good move by Van, or my boy Earn there. Let me know your thoughts on that. But cutting into, and I didn't even think about this. I used to watch Nickelodeon all the time growing up. Doug, Rugrats, you name it, Dog, Cat, all that stuff, Cat, Dog. Really good network. And I remember every single Halloween, Nick or Treat. And mind you, this ran from 1985 all the way to 2002. Now say Nick or Treat 10 times over. Nick or Treat. What does that sound like? I don't know what I just clicked. I never even thought about that, which makes sense why they ended it because of what it sounds like. But hey, I thought that was very interesting. Nick or Treat. Very, very interesting. Let me know your thoughts on there as Earn apologizes for his behavior a little bit earlier in the day. And we see, he was just worried about her. And this is where Van says, she brings up a Darius quote from season 2, the whole Drake episode about life is just assimilation. And which, by the way, speaks to, I don't know, she's quoting Darius. We talked about the theory of her and Darius maybe sleeping together in episode 2. I don't know if we're getting that, but, Earn asks the question that we all had in our minds. Did you steal that wig? And instead of her answering him, what'd she do? Kiss, kiss, kiss. They hook up. We see my boy wakes up to the phone call, which I imagine is the manager probably like, okay, sir, we gave you the free night. We're going to need your credit card on file. And we see that Van is nowhere to be found. End of the episode. Again, what I take away from that is Van's out here, again, we talked about it. She's just living her best life. She doesn't want to be in the way. She doesn't want to be stuck with you guys doing business. Meanwhile, Earn is obviously very concerned with her. And obviously, there's still emotions. There's still feelings going on between, at least from Earn's side. I don't know if Van was just like, I want to shut you up and just go ahead and give you that thing and just shut you up by doing that. But let me know what you all thought about that. But more importantly, going to the theme of the conversation, working the system, learning the system, taking advantage of what you can before they snatch it away from you and steal your ideas. So I thought this was a great episode. Again, let me know other things you took away from it. I don't think there were any ghost themes that we've gotten so far this season. If there are, I might have missed them. Let me know all the other stuff you took away from it. The funniest moment for you, again, Khalil and DeMarco, the hair brushing, passing as a black dude. I wish you would. I wish you would. Funny episode, hilarious episode, deep episode. It's one of my favorites so far this season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, pros, cons, thoughts, theories, and everything in between. If you stuck around to this point in the review, I can't thank you enough. Again, just a friendly reminder to like the review. Let's get this to 500 plus likes. Share the review. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Hope you all enjoyed the review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other content. We'll catch you all on the next video.